Ionophores. So I guess there is a lot of confusion in the market, particularly with farmers, about ionophores. And I guess firstly, is an ionophore an antibiotic by definition?
Depends who you speak to. So ionophores are a tricky issue politically, not scientifically. So the EU use ionophores as long as they don't have a claim for improved growth and feed efficiency. If they have a claim against coccidiosis, then they are classified as antiprotozoals, and they use them there. So there's no scientific reason for not using ionophores. They are classified by various people, various groups, as antimicrobials and some specifically as antibiotics. So if you take the EU stance, then those that are effective against coccidiosis, like monensin and lasalocid, are classified as antiprotozoals, and therefore there's no issue with using them. In reality, there are no analogous compounds in human medicine. So there's no evidence of crossover resistance between ionophores and human important antibiotics. So in terms of antimicrobial stewardship, there's no reason not to use them either. The kicker is that in addition to preventing coccidiosis, and therefore looking after animal welfare and improving feed efficiency and increasing growth rate, they actually also reduce methane output because they select against methanogens. So if you're concerned about methane output from livestock, they have a positive effect in that regard as well.
Return on investment from using ionophore as opposed to other
Clear
things?
Clear cut. We've known since research done in the 70s and 80s the effect that you get from ionophores. So there's that production response, which is approximately a 10% improvement in growth rate and a commensurate improvement in feed conversion ratio. They also, though, from an animal welfare perspective, reduce the risk of ruminal acidosis because they select against gram-positive organisms like strep bovis. So if we want to ensure that we have healthier, happy animals, then I think we actually have a responsibility to use the tools at our disposal that are quite safe and established and use those registered products to look after the animals and to make a quid.
Have you seen any evidence of many premiums or discounts, in the market that would offset the potential production loss or risks?
I think it's primarily an issue of perspective. So people are concerned about limiting their market options, but the actual market outlet for ionophore-free lamb, and certainly for beef, there's bugger all ionophore-free beef, but for ionophore-free lamb, it's a small amount. So as long as there's enough to meet that small requirement, then it's not as though that there's going to be a reward, a premium paid for that, because it's a small market. And there is no premium paid for ionophore-free lamb. You're basically getting the same price. It's just a matter of whether or not you use that particular market outlet or not.
Is there any other proven risk mitigators for coccidiosis for ruminants?
Not registered in Australia. Right now, there are no other registered products.
I've heard some evidence in some markets they've gone away from ionophores and gone back to them from an animal welfare point of view.
Yeah. And I'm not at all surprised at that because they're effective as long as we use them the way that they're designed to be used. They're safe and effective, and we make money out of them in addition to looking after the health and welfare of the stock. So it's a no-brainer. I have no idea why you would not use them.
So I suppose really the only reason you would not use them is if you were supplying a market which deemed them to be not acceptable.
Yeah, and that's basically for marketing reasons, not for scientific reasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're in that situation, yes, but I would look quite hard at other markets, and you really, if a cost is going to be imposed on your production system, which is what is being done by that market saying you can't use this performance-enhancing product, well, they should pay a premium. And that is not generally the case.
Yeah, I think there's some that are quite small, but if you look at that, 10% as a potential, production gain from using them. Is that the number you said?
That's roughly it.
Roughly 10%.
Provided you've got a nutrient-dense feed.
Yeah. But if in a finishing lamb environment, if you were getting a 10% production gain, then if you were not getting that by not using ionophores, you'd probably want to be more like a 10% reward to justify
for sure
the potential production loss or the potential risk of cocci and like the risk mitigation,
bloat.
The things. Are ionophores, so monensin and lasalocid, are they buffers?
No,
they're not buffers.
They are not buffers. They act by selecting against certain species of bacteria in the rumen, which increases rumen fermentation efficiency. So no, they're not buffers.
Yeah. Can you draw a comparison between buffers and Rumensin as far as mitigating risk of acidosis? Like,
there has been some.
You're going to have to use one or the other.
There has been some comparative work done in dairy cows with similar results between sodium bicarb and Rumensin, if I recall correctly. But of course, you don't pick up the other benefits from the sodium bicarb. That's just looking purely at rumen pH moderation. So the other health benefits are not there. But there are other products that will help modulate rumen pH similarly well without the added benefits.
In closing, you would say if you're not marketing a product into an ionophore-free market, we would just use ionophores as best practice.
Absolutely. I do routinely use ionophores because of the production and health benefits.